Okay, Donttap podcast. We are back, of course, with Billy Briz of Pub Sports Radio. It's a rough one, man. It's rough to take. Uh, I think overall we had a pretty good betting card as far as the last UFC goes, but Kyle Nelson losing the way he did, it just hurts. And I actually even talked to his coach after the fight. He had sent me a message before it broke about the elbow. It's a tough one for me, right? Because I think as a fan, he has a legitimate gripe. He took a downward elbow, like it's actually the new elbow, which is allowed now, to the back of the head squarely. He has a huge welt on the back of his head from one of the most potent strikers that's out there in the division. So he does have a gripe, and normally I wouldn't say that, but as a gambler or a bettor, I mean, I've won many fights that I've been on the side of where a guy took a couple shots to the back of the head, and I mean, a lot of KOs on the ground now. There's always one or two shots that land at the back of the head, so it's really difficult. But it was a pretty bad downward elbow to the back of the head, slow motion, you could see it, and then pretty bad welt. But we take the loss as far as that goes, and I hope that Kyle Nelson bounces back for himself. But what was your take on the whole fight card and the Nelson loss?
I thought it was pretty funny I mean, we could package this up and do reels and we could do a bunch of parlays and stuff like that. But I don't know. There's something about it where it just doesn't hit as close to home as when we really deep dive into some spots. And for every bad clip, there's probably three more good clips. I mean, I had to scroll through the Instagram today, and I'm watching some of the old reels of me, you, and Nick. Shouts to Nick, new father. Used to be the old co-host of the podcast, and I'm like, damn, man, we had some crazy takes.
We went on a run for a little while, and although things haven't been as crazy, I mean, that was still actually a solid ass reel. I think it was a solid take by you. I mean, a guy who hits so hard is going to potentially eventually get caught, but he also is going to put a lot of guys out, regardless of however you view the finish. Nelson also surging, and you could go on either side of that. Do you go with the ROI and the KO, which is a prop, which is why I was sort of leaning away from it, or do you go with the ROI with the multiple faction? We were just on the wrong side of it. It is what it is. We'll eat crow on it.
Out of those by the end of the year, there was more than enough action to get down on last week. I mean, we had Cage Warriors last week, we had Bellator last week, and UFC all in about a short time span, all in the same exact day. So I was able to clean up, man. I went 3-0 in Cage Warriors, was able to go 3-0 in Bellator, and then UFC was able to go 4-1, and that was the one loss. So I mean, I can't complain if that's the way that we're. I went 4-2 because I did have a Isaac Bulgarian prop that ended up losing. But it was a solid weekend, man. Back to the grind, though. I mean, UFC Noche, we've been talking about this card for months. Definitely one of the most anticipated cards of the year from like a real life perspective. But from a betting perspective, I would say it's a little bit lackluster. I thought there was going to be a little bit more get down some money spots. But to be honest with you, it's probably going to be a very short slate for me. And I guess it's more I'm watching as a fan, but there are some really good betting spots on this card. It's just not a lot as you would think for like a pay-per-view event.
And just quickly to look back, shout out to the parlays that we hit, and then also the Amorim sub. That one also popped as well too. So if you were on that side, you started the night off pretty well. It put you in a good place. So
and shouts to Petruski and Sean Brady.
Yeah,
Philly boys.
I jumped on the side and we added him in the parlay. Or I added them. I have like a personal parlay on the betting slip, but I knew you'd be on the side of that. And then we had also our parlay for the broadcast as well, or for the podcast as well too. But yeah, I mean, Durden showed up. I know we're looking back a little bit too, but Petrovsky was sort of an auto bet for me once you saw how bad that weigh-in was.
Looked at weigh-ins.
Oh my god, that's a meme for me. I'm going to be using that. But as we look forward, you are right. I think it might be a little bit of a tighter betting slate. I think that you're sort of on a couple sides in a couple fights that are close lines, and you're either convicted to one side or the other, and that's sort of how you play it. Maybe hit a couple props and find, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to hash it out today and see, even if we come up with picks, maybe there's a better angle or betting angle you can suggest or I can suggest as we go. So I'm going to let you hit it off. We're probably going to be on similar spots. I know we're going to be on one spot, the same 100%, but let's roll. You bring the first spot this week.
Yeah, my first spot here is going to be a prelim fight. Bahamondes and Torres is definitely going to be my pick to be the under the radar fight this weekend. I mean, this fight is going to be a guaranteed banger with action pack coming both ways. Bahamondes is a tall, rangy striker with good movement, but He never has physical advantages over his opponents in the division with that type of body frame. I mean, we've seen in his fights before he's easily hittable and had some underwhelming performances against Ludwig Klein before he was on steroids and John Medeski, despite having a size advantage in those fights. And he was able to take advantage of these lower level opponents, but it feels like he's always a little bit left to be desired in his career. Like, it feels like this point in his career, his best career win should be better than Trey Ogden. No offense to Trey Ogden, really good fighter, but I mean, that's not a needle mover for you. Torres on the other side, though, he's an aggressive fighter. He's only looking to finish the fight by any means, either by knockout or submission. It really doesn't matter. If he smells blood in the water, he's going to attack it. 14 out of 15 of his career wins all in the first round. I mean, this is not the type of fighting style that you're looking to fade on UFC Noche. No. He's going to find a finish, and considering the price tag being under -150, his only 2 career losses are both like bullshit ass leg submissions. That's not really a concern in this matchup. He can get this done however he pleases. Bahamondes has a chance to win, of course, but that physicality and the aggression coming from Torres is just going to be too much. He has the skill advantage, he has the mental advantage, and the narrative on his side. It feels like everything that he does embodies Mexican Independence Day.
Yeah, I'm right with you on this side. And I was actually initially sort of looking at this, thinking Bahamondes in my head. But when you look at the numbers, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you have Torres, who actually has outvolumed the numbers that Bahamondes does. And also the striking differential is there. He's landed about 8 strikes per minute and only absorbing a little over 3. That's a solid differential, and the fact that all of his stuff is damaged. It's more of a Muay Thai style versus a outside kickbox point style, and from there, although Bahamondes can be damaging, I still think that he's going to get in trouble trying to set Torres up too much. What's going to happen is he's going to have that Muay Thai more style march through and cut through him like butter. And on top of that, I mean, Torres actually has about 3.8, I think it is, takedowns per fight. And Bahamondes, I think one of his only paths to victory here is catching a lucky, or not lucky, but catching one of those guillotines, long arms, catching a guillotine on the way in. And I mean, Torres might still be able to get out of that. He does have solid jiu-jitsu as well, too, and solid wrestling. So, yeah, man, I'm on the side of Torres. I would agree with you 100% on that one.
Yeah, you would think that with a guy like Manuel Torres, you would be more interested playing like a round prop, considering 14 out of his 15 career wins are all first round finishes. Doesn't matter the method of victory. But to be honest with you, the fact that the money line's -120, -125, I would just take the money line. I wouldn't even get cute with it.
Yeah, I like it. It just makes sense. I think a lot of the spots feel that way this week. You just sort of keep it simple. You may have there's a couple like I'm looking at, maybe like and the over. I'm going to look at those, like your kind of sort of system play that you run. But and I'm actually just going to segue that right into what my play is going to be. It's going to be a guy that I will fade no more. A guy that, although he did fade a little bit in the 3rd round against Dan Ige, he did show that he took the fight on short notice. He's willing to fight at any time. He went through pretty much, I don't know if he went through 2 weight cuts, but just the ups and downs of his last fight must have been absolutely insane. I'm going to go with Diego Lopez over a guy in Ortega who looks like he might be packing up and shipping out. And I was actually more leaning potentially on Ortega on that side last time around at the dog money. But I just think with the weight cut issue and the miss and the being sick, and he's shown a little bit of a soft mentality, and I don't want to shit on him for that, because I mean, everybody's got their own shit. I got mine, but maybe his mental is not quite there for MMA, and the grind of MMA and the everything, the spotlight, the camps and everything else, because he seems like when he's talking, he's not quite there. His boxing, although improved, isn't even close to what Lopez will bring to on the feet. Lopez is damaging with every shot, more of a mix between a kickboxing Muay Thai style. He can run close range stuff and land damaging elbows and knees, but then also point you from outside. Everything is just calculated and beautiful. Lopez for me is just a side that way. And then if it gets on the ground, the one advantage that you see Ortega have is usually where he gets a backpack or gets a guillotine on a guy and able to sort of control position and then work for that sub. That's not going to happen against Lopez. I think that it's a stalemate. It likely ends up back on the feet. Even if Lopez or Ortega were to get Lopez back at one point in the fight, I think it gets back to the feet. And on the feet, this isn't close. And on the feet, I think that, we've seen Ortega wear damage early in fights and his sort of zombie on. I don't think that zombie on is going to be there anymore, providing that he's shown that he has this sort of mentality of 1 foot out. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but it's a little narrative-y. But for me, I'm just not going to back away from Lopez anymore. I like him, money line's decent, but I like him actually Lopez to win and over 1.5 to give a little bit to the zombie mode of Ortega. And I think that's sitting around plus 130. You can correct me on that, but that's my play on that. I think that's one of the sharpest plays of the week.
I actually like that a lot, Cal, because my only qualms I would say from a betting perspective is the hardest fights to bet in the UFC are rebooked fights. I mean, fuck, dude. The bookies have all the information possible. These fight cards been up for months. This fight has already had its ticket count during International Fight Week, which is supposed to be the biggest fight weekend of the year. So they have a really good read of the market. The line is very, very sharp at minus 190. I think it's correct, but that creates a opportunity for bettors. I mean, I wouldn't mind Diego Lopez in like a 2-leg parlay if you wanted to play like the gimmicky Mexican girl parlay with Alexa Grasso, Diego Lopez, 2 training partners. I wouldn't mind that at all, but it does feel like they're making you pay to buy in on a minus 190, and it's just like, how much is this a better situational scenario than the last time? I think, if anything, it does kind of benefit Brian Ortega a little bit. But I also do think Diego Lopez did learn a little bit himself, and maybe that could play a little bit into this demise. But I really like your play with Diego Lopez into over 1.5. I was actually looking at Diego Lopez by decision, but just taking on like that's why I kind of like your over 1.5, because I got to do some more research to figure out if he did get a finish, would it be a knockout or would it be a submission? And with a guy like Diego Lopez, I mean, man, you're really rolling the dice with that one, picking a method of victory. But I do like him to win by decision, though.
Yeah, I think that Cortez fucked that dude up. I think that ass leaving him. I apologize for
I don't
that
blame him.
approach. I normally do not
I mean,
talk this way,
his
but
new wife is hot, though.
Yeah, no, I get it, but have you seen Cortez? Have you seen her Instagram? And
That
she's a
I
fighter.
will. All right, so I will say like yes and no, because it's hard to, as a fighter, I feel like from like sitting on the sidelines, it's hard unless you're Patchy Mix and Tatiana Suarez and you're in like different promotions. It really doesn't matter. Or if you're like Paige Van Zandt and her boy over there in Bellator. But when you're in the same promotion, I feel like it gets a little like icky sticky unless it's like the same interracial relationship, like if it's like 2 chicks or something like that. Like nobody, if you ask the MMA betting public, they probably don't even know Cara Rosa and Denise Gomez date, or Eric Blanchfield, Fatima Klein, etc. But like, I don't know, with the guys, it's a little bit different where like, how do you, how do you be the macho man when like your girl is probably the macho girl as well? Like,
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see.
you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
sorry. I see what I was following you, and I see what you're saying. The angle of being emasculated.
yeah,
And we saw that happen to Brian Caraway with Misha Tate very badly. That's some old school shit. But yeah, man, I think that I actually do think that sort of messed him up. But that's just
he
me. And
definitely messed
he's
them up.
found God too, and it is what it is. Do your thing, homie. But I think you might pack your bags and we
Feels like
negotiate
he's
you.
taking this fight for the fans and the opportunity to fight in the spear rather than him fighting for his career to fight closer towards the belt, rather than Diego Lopez, who's trying to fight for the belt. Like, I,
Yeah.
I don't get the motivation for Brian Ortega, and then the media day hasn't really helped his cause either.
He's gonna get pieced up, dude. He's gonna get pieced up and either club and subbed or he's going to sleep real bad. He's gonna be a highlight reel, and Diego Lopez is gonna be anointed on highlight reels on ESPN the next day. You heard it here. Okay, bring your second spot to the table.
Yeah, man, it wouldn't be right if I didn't go to the main event here. We called it right here in this podcast a couple years ago in the Boston card, and you guys were looking at me like I had 3 fucking eyes. I said Sean O'Malley's going to defend the takedowns and knock out Aljamain Sterling, and he's going to make it look easy. We're going to have hashtag and new, and we're going to be in the Sugar Show era. Fast forward, we are in the Sugar Show era. And we all know how good Merab Davashili's wrestling is. He has the most takedowns in bantamweight history, third most takedowns in the promotion. His wrestling pressure and cardio, it's a lot for a majority of the division to handle. My biggest criticism, though, on Merab, he is not dangerous in any of these fights, man. He's content with taking his opponents to the ground, them getting back up, and him taking them down again. It's not like he's lacing the legs Dagestanian style or fishing towards the back immediately like his teammate Aljo does and finds a choke. O'Malley's the type of fighter you can't give that many chances to. A lot of ignorant fans and bettors have criticized some of his social media antics, but when the cage door closes, you have to give him the respect out of all the fighters in the division. He leads the division right now in knockouts, and he's one behind TJ Dillashaw in history for bantamweight for knockouts. This is the biggest event of the year, headlined by a promotional most popular fighter on social media for a reason. Like 9 fight bonuses are the most in the division. The way Merab fights, his takedowns are mad telegraphed, and he's acceptable to getting hit at range. The path to victory for him is very slim. He could take O'Malley down, but once Sugar finds the chin, I think it's going to be one of those ones where you see it all the time with Marlon Moraes and Henry Cejudo. They hit him with the right hand jab and followed it with an overhand left. And Sean O'Malley ain't no fucking Marlon Moraes or Henry Cejudo. He's finishing the fight in that moment and opportunity, and I think he's going to find an early finish here. I like Sean O'Malley on the money line. If you want to get greasy with a couple of props, I like the knockout prop combination on FanDuel 1-2-3 at plus 260. I think the fans are going to be somewhat disappointed because this one's going to be this one isn't going to go as long as people think.
Yeah, I'm this is one of my spots of the week. So for me, it's just 25 minutes is an extremely long time. And with Merab, although, we have the recency bias of all the takedowns, right? And the takedown attempts on Jan. And, with Jan, he's like, what was it? Like upwards of 40 or whatever takedown attempts. It was absolutely crazy. He was relentless. Crotch sniffing, couple takedowns, back up again, takedowns,
Small
back up
cage,
again.
yeah.
But the reality of the fact is that's sort of the recency bias of it. What I have in my mind is, what if we lived in a universe where we had a different referee in the cage when Marlon Moraes slept Merab in that first round? He doesn't even get to retire Aldo, right? Like, we don't get there. And there's a whole new world that would be created. Merab would not be fighting at the spear, likely. So I know, yeah, it didn't happen. But that was a situation where it's not like, did he sort of go out and then bounce back? It was like he was slept. He was out. If another referee was in there, that could potentially be different. It would have been a stoppage, and that's it. So my whole point is, with Piotr Jan, he's more of a damaging striker where he'll cut you up and land some elbows and sort of work you down. He's a damaging setup striker with his Muay Thai. But that being said, he doesn't really just knock you out with one shot. And with Sean O'Malley, he's going to get time and time again opportunity to land on Merab, as you said, who sort of, although he's so solid with the takedowns, he has no real regard for his chin as he enters. And unless they're working on that, that is the number one thing that they should work on all camp. As he enters, he needs to make sure that chin is tucked, and it needs to be,
I mean, if it looks anything like his
and that being
teammate
even said, even if he
last
does tuck it, there's always going to be something else. Like, the way with O'Malley is just so creative. Like, they were talking about the fact that on the Darce podcast, when I was on it, they were talking about the fact that, you're going to see Merab along the cage a lot. Well, I see O'Malley looking at an offense on the cage where he's going to land some elbows and just sacrifice even getting taken down, because he knows he's going to be able to get back up again and land some of these downward elbows at the side of the head like that. I could see it all day long in creative attacks. I just think him and his camp are just way too smart. So I just like O'Malley. I think on the feet he has it, and I think 25 minutes is way too long, and he's going to touch him at points. And I even almost went Merab by decision and O'Malley by KO, but I thought about it. This could even be 5 rounds where you see O'Malley tag him enough, even though he's taken down 6 times, but it's enough damage and enough maybe moments where he wins anyways. On volume or moments or whatever the fuck it might be. So I just came back to O'Malley at every point at minus 120, is where I got in. I got in fucking early. But the reality of the fact is I'm still good at minus 140. I think it's sitting around right now. And I would bet that money line and keep it nice and sweet. I'm not touching it any other way. It sets up a hedge for yourself if you want for parlays as well too. But I'm probably not even going to do that. I'll probably hedge to the co-main event with Grasso and Shevchenko.
I would just enjoy that. There's no edge to the Grasso Valentina fight. The market is corrected itself. We've seen the fight play out 2 different times. We've seen the fight be line fucking off 2 different times, and now the line is actually correct. And now they have 25 minutes. The fighters itself have 25 minutes plus of rounds and shit like that of seeing each other. They did mad media stuff. That I don't even want any parts of the co-main event. I mean, one of the biggest tickets I've ever cashed was Alexa Grasso beating Valentina Shevchenko the first time, and I had her parlayed up with John Jones. I don't see the value in the line. I'll
Yeah,
probably
it's not a play for me really. They talked about it on the Darce. It was a Brasco's one of Brasco's plays, I think. But for me, it was the only thing I see here is although we see Shevchenko was winning in the first fight, and people will argue the Shevchenko side, but she didn't. She got submitted. I don't care what anybody says about what was going on in that fight. She got MMA'd. Done. Okay, now we move on to the next fight. Then we have a situation where she got robbed by a judge, right? Robbed by judges. So then we're going to force one of the most high pressure judge situations ever in history at the Sphere on Mexican Noche when you are fighting a Mexican champion, and it's going to be a greasy decision. Is the pressure going to be more to go for Grasso or Shevchenko if you're one of those impressionable judges? Because they're there. They are out there. They've proven it time and time again with these weird scorecards where they go for the hometown guy. So, I mean, look at Australia. But for me, I just think that I'm on Grasso. I think she's built from both camps. That's the pick. I'm not making a bet on it, really. But I think Grasso. Yeah. But I'm not talking. I'm talking about a pick. I'm not talking about value or whatever else. It's just I think she's going to build off those championship camps. I think that it's just eventually going to be a passing of the guard situation. It's going to get tired for Shevchenko, and I think it's just this is it right now. So.
I don't know, though. I was saying, betting wise, the last little thing about the Grasso Valentino one, if you're going to the window, it's just like we talked about it for the Diego Lopes fight against T City. The fights that the bookies make the most money on are the ones that get rebooked or the ones that are rematched or remade and stuff like that. And they're just cleaning up on those type of fights. It's ridiculous. Like the edge fights are like the ones that are like, they don't know enough information about, like the Joshua Van, Charez, random ass, Benel.
And I get it, but that's where I give a little pushback and you've said it to me at times, sometimes you just got to pick who you think's going to win. And if you're convicted to that, sometimes you just roll with it, especially if you feel like that's your spot in the week and no one's going to talk you off that, right? So you just, with that, when you hear some pushback, maybe you adjust your unit size and don't go too crazy on some picks sometimes. But the reality of the fact is, like with Lopez, although I get it, it's rebooked. I 100% you sort of lose the edge on because they see where the market was going and the value on it. Although things have happened since then, right?
So minus 130. It's minus 190. They know where the shark money went.
But I just see it happening, right? I just, for me, that's one of those things, like you said, where I just see the side and that's just it. But I see what you're saying. You got to be careful when they're rebooked because then the bookies have already made that jump and figured out where the market's going to go, and then they educate themselves. Then they get all the educated bettors. And
I'll give you a prime example, Cal. You look at the Ziggy Ramaska Nathan Fletcher fight from last week. Granted, a lot of the Ziggy Ramaska props didn't hit, but the bookies took a big hit on the Ziggy Ramaska props when they first opened up the first time. The first time that they fought, his decision prop was sitting at plus 800. When they rebooked it and made the lines for last week, it was sitting at plus 450. That like they know it's up. Like they change everything. I'm telling you, if you looked at like the market that week and then you look at it for this weekend, you're gonna be like, God damn, man. You'd be like, yo, it's like all like 50 cents off the dollar. Like, but my fault. That was a little rant about
no, that's valuable, man. That was all 100% valuable. People should pay attention to that because wherever you have edges on props in fights or wherever sometimes you see a sub edge or whatever else, it's just gone in that second fight because they got knowledge. They got data from the market telling them where they think it's going to actually go. And usually the market is right to some extent. So, but I will bring my next spot to the table. And this is going to be one that is ROI for me. This is going to be one where I do see a distinct edge. And although a lot of people are going to think this is a level check in the other direction against me, I think Irene Aldana has shown me a lot of things that is a little negative in some of her fights that I'm going to talk about right now. So I'm going to go with Norma Dumont. I think that Norma Dumont right now at about minus 110, it's gone back and forth a little bit, but it's roughly a pick 'em right now. Irene Aldana has shown me a couple things in the cage. She showed me, I guess, yes, I know it's the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, but she showed me that she can quit. And she showed me she has that in her where she just gives up in fights and just goes through the motions. And she doesn't really deal with power pressure that can mix in grappling and big shots. That's sort of what Norma Dumont is. I'm not comparing her to Amanda Nunes, but style-wise, she's at least on that cusp of that. If we look at it though, the one thing that Irene Aldana does bring to the table is she's a slick striker. She does have some solid boxing, but she does get into chaos at times, and that doesn't serve her well against Norma Dumont. She's going to want to keep this clean and try to keep on the outside and just land shots, land that jab, and stay long. But that being said, Norma Dumont has already went up against somebody who most people wouldn't even realize who it was. And I talked about this on the Darce, is Danielle Wolf. Now, Danielle Wolf is somebody who, MMA wise is a nobody, but she's a boxer and a slick boxer. And what did Norma Dumont do to her? She outboxed her. She pieced her up on the feet. So for me, that's just one thing right there. Now, against Jermaine Durandamy, she didn't have the edge in the boxing. She realized it took her a little while to get to the takedowns, but I think she got 6+ takedowns in that fight. And if we look at Irene Aldana, her biggest pitfall is this woman gets taken down. She can get taken down. Like if she's going up against someone who wants to shoot the takedowns, she can get taken down a lot. And the one thing that Norma Dumont just showed me is she has fight IQ in a moment when she knows that her pressure and her striking doesn't work. She will go to her wrestling. She will work you on the cage and she will slow it down. And I got to go with fight IQ. I got to go with ROI. I got to go with the lady who just landed 6 takedowns in her last fight and averages at least 2 and a little bit in every fight. Give me Norma Dumont. Give me Big Norm. Give me the dump truck. Give me back it on up. Let's go. Norma Dumont money line right now for me just is the spot. So
ladies
right
and gentlemen,
I got it at minus 110. But I did. It was Cal on the ones and twos in the Darce. By decision also plus 120. I think she does win this by decision. So usually when I feel really convicted about a side or an angle, I'll probably play a female fight, likely by decision, unless I see something like I did last week in Amorum. So give me the decision and give me the money line.
Yeah, this is vintage Cal. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we got Cal McGregor back. Welcome to the podcast. He got his elbow greasy into it. When Cal's fired up and he's got a convictive take and he's in it. We're in for a good weekend.
She got to win though. She got to win though. It just can't be a good reel. It's got to be a winning reel. We got to win.
I mean, Cal McGregor's back. I like it though because I couldn't agree with you anymore. I do like thick Norm here by decision specifically. I think you can get a little bit of value on the money line by just chasing the decision. So it's like Big Show picks over at Pub Sports Radio. Shouts to Big Show, best producer in the game, right behind you. But he always gets mad at me for me picking method of victories over a specific money line, specifically because it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, you can get scammed out of a method of victory prop, but it's also like, man, we're putting all this research hours and information into it. If I think the person's going to win by this method of victory, why am I not just betting on it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a matter of bankroll. Like you figure out how you want to do your unit size. Like I feel really convicted on the money line. I'll probably bet a little bit heavier on the money line, and then I'll sprinkle, a percentage on, the actual prop play. That way I'm not feeling too bad if it doesn't hit.
I feel really convicted in the decision prop where I'll probably go try to make a unit, half unit off the decision prop, and then you throw a quarter unit on the money line. So it's like you doubled up real quick and you invested less money on the, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like the way
so you go the other way where I'm trying to play it safe and maybe not make as much. And you're on the other side. You're like, no, I'm going to lean into it more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Casey O'Neill fight from a couple of weeks ago, and I had to really gauge, is it a money line play or is it decision prop play? And that one was kind of reverse. I ended up going money line over decision prop, but after the fight was over, the whole entire time I was thinking, damn, I could have put $100 on her decision prop and maybe put 50, 25 on the money line, and boom, I could have made a little bit more money and spent less more money. And, but that's sometimes where you get greedy and you get fucked up in MMA. I had Belgori to win in under 2.5 and missed it by fucking 6 seconds last night, all because I didn't want to pay the extra fucking 15, 20 cents for the knockout route.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. I think that she wins handily, and when you're convicted on the side, just make sure if you're going to go double bets, just you're finding a strategy that makes most sense so you're not killing your profit so much. And then on top of that, you're not putting up more risk when you don't need to.
We got to get into the podcast parlay for the week. And I want to pitch something that we usually don't do too much, but I think the opportunity is there for the weekend. A total with 2 money lines or a money line.
So,
Um,
but like
yeah,
over under.
like an over. So the over in Charez and Joshua Van, I kind of like. It's a short noted added bout to the card. Joshua Van's coming in on short notice. Charez's best attribute, though, is his Mexican durability, man. I mean, he's always evading himself out of danger in fights that some fights that you really don't favor him stylistically. I mean, not being finished by Tyra, Tatsuro Tyra and Clayton Carpenter, definitely a W. Like, I mean, like those are two people that are gonna run right through a lot of people on their way up to the top. And in Joshua Van's last fight, yeah, he got knocked out. But I mean, I think this is gonna be an entertaining back and forth war. I do
I
like the
agree.
fighters, both durability, and I think they're gonna give the fans an entertaining show. Like I think we're gonna get a little bit of value because Joshua Van got knocked out in his last fight. But that's just Charles Johnson
Yeah.
winning rounds.
But you are right about Charez, although like the striking is a little bit low in volume and he does try to get close and grapple and get dirty boxing going and everything else. There's just something about him that even with the vividness of trying to remember his fights before you even start doing a deep dive, you just think dog. You think a guy that's just gonna fight and fight for every minute. And not just because he's Mexican, although that does, I'm sure, play a role. And I know that sounds horrible,
It
but
does
the,
though.
the, the dude just stays in the fight tooth and nail. And you just naturally think when you're gonna have plus money, like plus 190 on that dude was just already a play. I didn't make it a play on this podcast, but you have to come up with a dog of the week on the Dars podcast, and I made Charez my dog of the week. I think he's just gonna make it greasy, and I think if Van gets him out, it's late. So I do agree with you on the over on that. I think there's value. I think we should just hit an over parlay straight up. I think just two
Okay.
overs. I'm down to do that. I've been doing the soccer podcast with TJ Raff, and he's hitting these over parlays nonstop.
Hearing
So
you
I
say
like I
TJ
like the
Raff
over in
is
time
so
here.
weird, man. Hearing you say TJ Raff is so weird. I mean, we gotta get to Wada man picks back that account. RIP the Code Soccer account, TJ Raff, aka old Tawana man picks. Rest in peace.
Well, no, it's still there. It's still there. We actually have the Tijuana picks. Like, so he's TJ picks, but we're gonna probably switch that account over to. And for those of you who don't know, I do the producing for the TJ podcast, but he's gonna switch that over to just the podcast channel, and then we're gonna have his Tijuana picks because that's a big page. He's got quite a few followers on that. So yeah, but that guy's sharp. You guys got to get over that. Even if you're not like if you're a DJ and gambler, you got to get over there because if you bet soccer blindly, you're a dumbass. Go on
Dumbass.
there and listen to this guy talk about 3 or 4 games. Like, just stick with those teams, and you get hit overs almost every week. Just don't fuck around.
Yeah,
Go over and
Rico
check that one
too,
out.
man. Rico gave us some good money last week, man. I was right there with Rico. I was feeling him with the Syracuse comment of like they invest a
They
shitload.
crushed the live last week too.
Yeah, I
Over at,
was
over at First and Locks.
yeah, I was great. First and locks, but enough of
Okay,
the
so what are we gonna do? So over and over. What do we got? We got
but
so
that's
the
the reason
band
why I
price to
said
go
money
over.
line because I kinda I don't really want to be betting overs on this card in the spirit. Like I feel like that
Fair.
doesn't fit the narrative of the card
So what
at
are we
all.
talking about? Let's see if we agree on the money
Um,
line.
the over with either Raul Rojas Jr. and Yasmin Yergui probably get like plus 115,
I'm
plus
not
one.
touching Rose Jr. at that price. I don't think there's value there. If I touch him at all, it's going to be in some kind of prop if I can hit it, and that won't even have value either. The
Yeah, I
line's
mean,
just way too wide.
yeah, I think it's wide for a reason. They're gonna try to make you
Yeah,
bet the
I
division.
agree.
I think
He
he's
gets.
probably
He's going to take him down and submit him. That's likely where I'm going to touch it and probably hit it pretty heavy regardless. But yeah, I
there's
don't
a
want to
version
parlay
though that you could just
because
win a
there's no
decision.
value.
You know, Richie Lang is a very good
He's
fighter in his own right, and he's a
durable.
veteran in his own right. And like, I mean, it's not going to be easy to submit him. It will be easy to beat him, but it's not going to be easy to submit him if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Of like, he
He's going to
could
have to
win.
beat him down a little bit on the ground and maybe get control and then work a
Yeah,
submission. That's probably what we're going to see. So,
he could win a
um,
29-28 or 30-27. I wouldn't be shocked. But how do you feel about the Yasmin Yaragui Caitlin Souza fight?
I think Uruguay's going to have her way in that fight, although she's had moments where she's been sort of caught and we've been sort of like, what the hell? Big favorite, looking a little bit scary, like she's not the favorite. Um, yeah, I think she could be a spot, but I don't know, man. I don't even know if I want to touch that one. Um, It was hard finding parlays on this one. Like I have a parlay piece that I gave to them, but I mean, he was more a parlay piece because he was maybe third down the rung. But I have a prop play with him as well too that I'll talk to you about in a second. But
Well,
I'm trying to think.
spit it out then while we're spitballing.
Well, my piece was Daniel Zellhuber. Just the reach, the striking pedigree, and I think a lot of people won't want to parlay him because Robovic is a little volatile on the feet. But I just think it's gonna be like Bull and Matador in this situation again too. Plus Zellhuber is just gonna. What's that?
I'm right there with you. I'm right
Okay.
there with you.
So we can maybe make it. I just think I like Zellhuber by decision at plus 130, and I think we can make him the parlay piece. But I just think that although Robovic, like people could see him maybe catching him, it's just Zellhuber's just getting better and better every fight, showing more fight IQ. He had his moments early in his career in the UFC where we were like, what the hell? But for the most part, he can be a finisher in multiple different ways, showing chokes as well too, and an anaconda choke against Robovic. I can actually even see, and although I'm on the decision prop, and I may sprinkle some kind of sub as well too, I can see him tagging him from the outside. Robovic sort of falls into a sloppy takedown. I know I love these kind of plays, but when you have an 8-inch reach advantage, those guillotines become real available. So Randy Ruboy has shown that in the past as well too, right? So and Anthony Andrigui as well too. So, anyways, regardless. I'll leave that where it is. Daniel Zellhuber, and we'll do the over. Then we'll make that the parlay.
Yep, I like it, bro. I like it.
What's the line on that?
I gotta wait. The Joshua Van and Chara's overs aren't going to be out until like
okay.
after.
But I'll make that like I'll put that right on my betting card that because I'm down for making that like if it was me by myself I would make that play.
Yeah,
I do think the over makes like it's going to be decent value there for sure. I think you're going to get good value because there's going to be an expectation that Van was knocked out last fight, but then he's also a knockout artist. So they're just going to look at it and maybe give us some good value on that. So
yeah, I think it's going to be like minus 200, minus 200 through minus like 215, 220, maybe the highest. And at that point, I think that's a really good parlay piece. At that point, you could even, if you want to eliminate 5 minutes, you can even hit fight to start round 3. That's probably going to be like minus 550.
Sounds good. I like it. So yeah, and then like I said, I'll be sprinkling the Zellhuber by decision just because he has shown the fight IQ. He does sort of play that game where he can play distance, and he just plays smart. He wants to win. And that being said, I do sort of still like the sub as well too. Norma Dumont's going to wrestle fuck Irene Aldana if she needs to. Otherwise, she's going to pressure her on the feet and land big shots. But I don't think there's going to be a greasy, war on the feet. I think that we're just going to see that turn into a wrestling match if it even pretends to go there. Both you and I agree. Sean O'Malley's the side. Main event play. That's the collab play of the week. Sean O'Malley for the main event. So I think we're both on the same side there. And although you think, with Lopez being a rebook fight, there is a little bit of loss in value on the line. I'm convicted to me seeing him get this finish, which is a big fade from the fact that I used to always be on the other side of this bet. So I really do like Lopez as well too. And we sort of sprinkled on Grasso, but I mean, let's just enjoy that fight for the trilogy or whatever the hell it is now at this point, and let's see that come to an end. So it's just done, and we can put it to bed.
I couldn't agree anymore. Like if we don't, I don't want to bet on that fight. I don't want to see it anymore. After
I don't want to see it as the main event in Toronto because they got to fill the card. Although that would be still a pretty solid main event, but that's what they do to us in Toronto. They just like, hey, what main event can we just sort of pluck from somewhere because we don't really, you know what? We'll put that right there. But anyways, like I was saying, I think we got a good parlay. We got some pieces. What was your other spots that were different from mine?
Manuel Torres on the money line, a little pre-limp.
And I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
I might even look at the takedown prop on that as well too.
That's just
might get a couple.
Great value, minus 120. You don't have to invest a lot to win a lot. I mean, you know me, man. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Odie Osborne.
Yep.
I'll tell the people at home. I was big on the Ronaldo Rodriguez side in his the last time UFC Noche came around in his UFC debut against Denis Bondor. I'd be careful with that fight. That seems like a trap price tag at minus 145.
The only thing I said about that fight, I see what you're saying, but I see Rodriguez winning that fight. I think he could be a little bit more damaging at points on the feet to at least get into the grappling and work that. Ode gets taken down. That's the biggest thing. Ode Osborne, 1 second. Ode Osborne is a solid ass striker, and I think that the one thing I say about Rodriguez, it's just to close the distance. I think he's serviceable on the feet to get that done. But if he stays on the feet, he's going to give Ode his potential win condition. And that's sort of risky for me when you have the level that they're at right now. Even though Ode's lost a bunch of fights, he's still been fighting at the level for a while. It's a little greasy. So that's why although I do see Rodriguez probably winning, it's still greasy as hell. So I see you are right. That is a potential apple pie shitter for a lot of people this week.
Especially at -145. I think the biggest thing that people see is a 12-7 record, and it's on a main card, and he's fighting a Mexican, and everybody's like, "Oh, why is this fighting the main card? They're obviously trying to build out the Mexican, yada yada yada." Man, don't sleep on Ode Osborne, man. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked that he's
going to have a chip on his shoulder too, because a lot of people are shitting on him being on this card.
Huge chip
on the main card, right? So people were sort of shitting on him for that. So the only thing is, he is okay wrestling. He is okay wrestling when he's getting it done forward, but like his takedown defense is just brutal. So if that gets happening and you start seeing that happen,
guess where he's been training at, Cal?
Where you don't develop wrestling in 6 months.
I agree, but guess where
is he Kazakhstan or is he in Dagestan? Or
No. A gym out there in Las Vegas, and ain't fucking Extreme Couture, Syndicate MMA. Dewey Cooper, baby. He's been training with Dewey Cooper, getting in that work. And if there's worried rumblings on the street that Dewey Cooper and the boys then seen Ronaldo Rodriguez before in Las Vegas, they know how he fights. They know what to expect. Shit. And Bubba Jenkins is a great person. Bubba Jenkins and Timmy Kawaba are two great people to give you blends of what you're going to see for this weekend. I'm not going to count out Ode Osborne, man.
But as much as you're saying, there's a whole bunch of value in everything you're saying. But at the same flip side, it also feels like one of those spots where you could be convicted, be like, there's all this value, and build a reel on it. And this, and this, like we sort of got caught in last week. And then it's like, bam, no,
I definitely just don't want the money line on Ronaldo, man.
No, it is wide.
So his UFC debut.
You could probably get some value on the live, potentially. If you start seeing that there is a level check, huge, which could happen.
It's just like situationally, right? His UFC debut, he was +100 on a UFC Noche card. And you know me, bro. I don't we do the videos and the podcast and stuff like that, bro. I don't put out Twitter plays like that of like free Twitter plays a week in advance and stuff like that. Man, I was watching the tape and the film, and I just had something just came to me, and I was just like, I have to give the people the play. This line, by the time I wake up tomorrow, this line will not be like this. I have to give the people the play. And it was like +100 against Dennis Bondar. You looked at any fucking capper fucking prediction video that week. Oh, Dennis Bondar, blah, 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 blah. He's going to get him in. You can't bet on anybody that lost to Jerome Rivera, blah, 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 blah. And then flash forward a year later on the next UFC Noche card, everybody's, excuse my defense and my language, but everybody's sucking his dick and betting him at the window at -145. I'm speechless. This is a way harder matchup than Dennis Bondar. The first time was a Dennis Bondar feed.
I'm getting a lottery ticket. You're speechless? Like, I'm buying some shit.
Oh man, we gotta clip that. It's a great clip.
Now, on that note, I think that's a good conversation to have. We talked about the Rosas Jr. one a little bit too. Just to have as a conversation. I mean, that the line is too wide. There's no value there. Attack it from a different angle. Do not parlay that line. You're not getting any value. Please do not. It's not like a Bellator line that's for sure at -1,000 that is going to hit. It's just not. Like I don't know. I see it 1,000 different ways, but it just feels like it could be greasy, and I wouldn't want to lose. It would just be one of those ones. If you lost on that value, it'd be brutal to do it. You'd just be done.
I would say from an MMA perspective, yeah, but from a betting perspective, whenever the bookies have a line and they put it at 350 or 400, and we've seen this on the Contender Series the last couple of weeks, mightily. When you put a bad line out and the line gets smacked and then they get scared and then they move it $3 immediately and they say, yeah, it's at -900, -800, go fuck with it now. It's just like, all right, well, you just if we're playing poker or cards, you just showed me your cards that you're scared as fuck and you folded. well, I'm all in. Like, it feels like one of those situations, but you can't be because it's like it's only Raul Rojas Jr. You can't be all in, but you'll find a way to get some
I'm not
value
all
on
in.
it. But it's just
I'm
like,
just gonna cut
hey,
the sub.
you
Even if the sub's like -150 or like even minus, I might even still hit it because I just feel like that's the route.
There's a
But
couple of lines on this card that they fucked up with the booking of it, like Daniel Zellhuber Ribovics. That line was like -140, 150. That shit got slapped, and they said we're scared. -200, -250. All right, it's at 250. People are actually chilling out on it, and now we're getting Ribovics action. There's a couple of bad lines that they put up on this card, like Sean O'Malley opened up at +140, and they just got
yeah, people
beaten
hit that
down
pretty hard.
on O'Malley action to the point where they had to say Merab Davashili had staph infection to like really move the line. And like, it's ridiculous how betting works. But that's my little rant about betting. Don't let them fool you.
For UFC Noche, we're gonna say and still with Sean O'Malley, and I think that's a good way to finish it off. And still Sean O'Malley for Billy Briz of Pub Sports Radio. I'm Callum McGregor of the Donttap podcast. Tune into the Donttap podcast.